An Australian teenager thought he was doing a good deed by reporting a security hole in the MetLink website, and it left a lot of customers' information, credit cards, vulnerable. But the website just ignored him until he reported the hole to The Age, a newspaper, at which point they, of course, reported the teenager to the police, obviously.
Of course. So, well, this is the Australian.
This is Australia.
This is all in Australia.
Right.
This is Joshua Rogers, a 16-year-old who discovered a hole.
And it was a simple security loop, if I remember correctly, right? It was just
well,
very
it was an SQL injection
right.
vulnerability, and it's pretty common.
It should be noted that the police have taken no action, though.
Thank you, police.
They did nothing.
Right.
So
it sounds to me like it's just somebody at a government office in Australia had an itchy trigger finger because they didn't listen to their voicemails. And as soon as the newspaper reported that there was a problem, they just kind of like went, okay, all of our stuff is compromised, go after it, But they probably didn't know that he was the one that called it in initially. That would be my thought.
I'm a little bit annoyed that they seem to have ignored his original report
course.
That, hey, all 600,000 customers, their information is vulnerable, and that information included phone numbers, email addresses, dates of birth, credit card numbers, mobile numbers, any personal information, and it was all vulnerable. And he didn't do anything malicious with this information. He said, hey, there's a problem, you might want to fix this. And he did nothing to harm anyone in this situation.
Now the difference is that at the time when probably when the newspaper, because again it sounded like the Metro didn't know that was the case until the newspaper called them, and like I said, I think someone just ignited it and just took action without going back and reviewing the fact that this kid had no malicious intention. Because like you said, the police didn't take any action, right?
Yeah, the police did not take any action. Intent is hard to define. Hackers previous to Joshua Rogers have gone so far as to download sensitive information off of holes that they've found in websites just to prove to the company that yes, there is a hole, see this information I got. And then in some cases those hackers were arrested, thrown in jail for having this information, even though they had good intentions in taking it. My guess is that they reported Joshua to the police just to subpoena his computer to make sure he didn't have anything on there. He says he didn't download anything, but
you never know until it's actually checked out.
I'm just curious as to why they did no action to begin with when he reported to them there's an issue here.
Because that admits fault.
Who cares? I mean, get over this idea that your company is perfect and does everything right. You should, if you notice there's a hole, fix the hole. I think it just makes logical sense rather than just to ignore it and point fingers. We've seen this before, though a slightly different situation with Andrew Ornheimer, or Weave, who found a security hole with AT&T. And I know we've done another story a long time ago about a Canadian student who found a similar security hole that made data vulnerable in his university's website, and he ended up being expelled. And then once media attention got on it, they backpedaled. But it was just I don't understand why we have to be so harsh on the people who discover these errors rather than just fix the goddamn errors.
Because when a story like this breaks, there's one of two ways to spin it. Either A, we've been hacked and we're doing our best to secure our site from hackers in the future, or B, some teenager pointed out that our website sucks and your data wasn't valuable and we can't be trusted.
So that's actually a really popular PR spin that a lot of companies use in order to deal with major crisis situations. It's care, action, and perspective. It's a CAP statement. And the whole idea is that, like you're saying, is that they have two ways of doing it. Either we're total idiots and your government money can't be trusted because we left out a simple loophole, or we actually are going to take care of the situation, the system's down and we're now infiltrating it. Now the difference is that a lot of companies that weren't them have done what in my opinion is a much stronger outlook for handling these situations. They hire the kid. That's how a lot of security protocols deal with stuff like this. They hire the people who infiltrated their system, and now they become their security specialist or even a consultant, and then the kid's fine because all charges are usually released, and I don't think anyone's going to press any charges against this kid, But but someone had to take the fall for the company being, admittedly irresponsible with the data.
Well, it just seems really arrogant to me to just assume that, or just come from the perspective that we know better than everybody else, and if you think you don't, we're going to punish you.
Sure. Well, what would you do if you were the marketing director of what's the company called? Metlink?
Metlink.
Yeah. What would you do if you were the marketing director of Metlink and you had literally hundreds of thousands of people's sensitive data that had just been taken? You get woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning because someone said, "Hey, the age just called and said our security breach."
Well, there's many things you could do. I mean, you could say, "Hey." You could alert your customers, hey, there's been a breach.
Sure.
You could just not publicly say anything and just fix it quietly.
Right.
But the last thing I would do is call the police.
But the newspaper called you. That's the thing. The newspaper called you. It's out. It's done.
You can assign blame many ways, but one way I would not blame is the kid who said, hey, it's there.
No. And you hope that it's kids like Joshua who find the hole and not someone who's going to take those credit card numbers and exploit them.
That's a good point. If he could find it and it was a pretty easy vulnerability to find,
who knows who else has it?
Who else could have?
Yeah, all this data could already be compromised by the time Joshua gets around to it.
To someone who didn't even say anything,
It's a smaller scale problem in what is a pretty common issue in technology and website and security nowadays. Is that it happened with Sony when however long ago it was that they did it too, and they had to deal with it the same way. They had to crisis control it to basically make the company not look like. They still look like the dumbass, but not a total dumbass, and then be able to do what they could to fix it while still keeping the brand alive. As much as the Metlink, Australian public transportation field needs to be saved,
Well, that's something I agree with. I mean, there's many ways to spin it, and there's many ways to fix it. But what do you think would be the best way to deal with a situation like this? Would you quietly fix it? Would you admit fault? Does that damage your brand? Let us know what you would do in that situation besides call the fucking police and leave comments below.